The crisp fabric of my stepson's fresh uniform caught the harsh overhead lights, but I couldn't focus on his proud posture. Beneath the steady drone of the commanding officer's voice, my 8-year-old daughter squeezed my fingers so hard her tiny fingernails bit into my palm. Her small face had turned completely pale as she pleaded to leave, staring directly past the rows of polished shoes and American flags. In that quiet moment, a wave of cold dread washed over me, though it wasn't until we reached the safety of our car that she finally revealed the truth. My name is Maya Vance, and at 32 years old, I had mastered the art of keeping the peace. I was married to Julian and acted as a stepmother to his 26-year-old son, Logan, who was currently celebrating a major milestone in his military career. Logan was an intense, fiercely proud young soldier who treated me with distant politeness but never truly considered me family. To him, I was merely the woman who occupied his late mother's place, a sentiment his grandmother, Eleanor, never failed to reinforce. Eleanor Vance was a master of passive-aggressive warfare, masking her sharpest insults behind a polite smile and a string of elegant pearls. From our very first meeting, she viewed me as an uninvited intruder who had stolen a seat at her family's private table. When she discovered I had served 6 years as a military logistics officer before an overseas accident left me with a permanent limp, she offered a dismissive laugh. She condescendingly remarked that everyone eventually needs a minor chapter in their lives before finding their true place. I rarely discussed my service, keeping my decorations tucked away in a velvet box, but Julian insisted I bring my Bronze Star to Logan's ceremony to show solidarity. We arrived early, but Eleanor was already positioned near the front, offering warm hugs to her son and grandson while treating my daughter, Hazel, and me like afterthought guests. As the ceremony commenced, I tried to focus on the pride radiating from Logan, completely unaware that Eleanor was watching us from across the aisle with a victorious grin. The celebration transitioned into a flurry of handshakes and photographs beneath the heavy military banners, yet Hazel remained anchored to my side, her eyes glued to the floor. Normally, my daughter vibrated with excitement at these events, loving the crisp uniforms and dramatic cinematic atmosphere of the base. When Julian called us over for a group portrait, Eleanor smoothly stepped into the center next to Logan, ensuring I was pushed to the absolute edge of the frame. After the final camera flash, Julian stayed behind to network with retired officers, sending Hazel and me ahead to the parking lot. As I unlocked the vehicle, I caught a glimpse of Eleanor through the glass lobby doors, watching our departure with a chillingly satisfied expression. The ensuing drive home was entirely silent, a stark contrast to Hazel's usual energetic chatter as she tightly clutched her backpack against her chest. I finally killed the engine in our driveway, sensing the immense emotional weight settling over the front seat. Hazel turned toward me with large tears welling in her eyes, her voice trembling as she asked if I had seen what her grandmother did. Every muscle in my frame tightened as I urged her to explain, watching her glance nervously toward the house to ensure we were completely alone. She confessed that during the loud applause for Logan, she watched Eleanor stealthily open the side zipper of my purse. My heart began to hammer against my ribs as Hazel described Eleanor pulling out the distinctive blue velvet box. Doubt fought with instinct as I listened to my daughter explain how Eleanor had made direct eye contact and placed a single finger over her lips. I sprinted into the kitchen and dumped the contents of my handbag across the granite counter, watching receipts and pens scatter everywhere. The zipped compartment was completely empty, and the irreplaceable symbol of my military sacrifice had vanished without a trace. Hazel buried her face in my shoulder, weeping because she feared her grandmother's wrath for exposing the secret. When Julian arrived home later carrying a celebratory bakery cake, his cheerful demeanor instantly shattered against the wall of my growing fury. When I explained that Eleanor had stolen my medal, his expression shifted into deep disappointment, immediately defending his mother by claiming an 8-year-old simply misunderstood. He insisted the medal must have slipped out or been left behind, completely blind to his own deep-rooted instinct to shield Eleanor from any accountability. The following morning, I bypassed my husband's denial and contacted the event coordinator at the military center, desperate for any security footage. A helpful clerk named Sarah informed me that while cameras were recording, the Public Affairs Office restricted access to family members. After hours of bureaucratic phone calls, a sympathetic captain finally reviewed the tape, reporting that while the audience was obscured, Eleanor was briefly captured holding a handbag that resembled mine. Just as frustration began to set in, an elderly volunteer named Raymond Benson arrived at my front door after hearing rumors about a missing item. He awkwardly explained that he encountered Eleanor near the restrooms during the ceremony, carrying a purse that matched my description perfectly. When Raymond jokingly told her that her daughter had forgotten her bag, Eleanor had corrected him with absolute coldness, stating that I was absolutely not her daughter. Armed with the validation that Eleanor had indeed possessed my bag, I spent the evening digging through an old plastic storage bin in our closet. Julian watched from the doorway, still clinging to his peaceful delusions, until I noticed that my entire military deployment file was also missing. Someone hadn't just stolen a valuable piece of metal. They had deliberately taken my original recommendation letters, witness statements, and battalion commander notes. I rushed to the local Veterans Archive the next day, where an old friend managed to print my digitized service records. However, she confirmed that the highly personal, handwritten commander's letter was completely irreplaceable since it wasn't part of the official government file. Driving home, the painful reality settled in that Eleanor wasn't just collecting a spiteful keepsake, she was actively trying to erase the physical proof of my history. By Thursday afternoon, Julian reluctantly agreed to accompany me to Eleanor's pristine, flower-lined home, pleading with me not to create an unnecessary family war. When we sat at her dining table, I directly confronted her about the missing bronze star, watching her elegant facade remain completely unbothered. She calmly sipped her tea, claiming children possess overactive imaginations and accusing me of desperately trying to cast her as a villain. As we walked toward the exit, Eleanor leaned in close, ensuring her venomous final words were completely hidden from Julian's ears. She whispered that the true reason Logan never accepted me was because she spent the last 6 years ensuring he never forgot his real mother. That evening, while sorting through remaining mementos, I found an old adolescent Christmas card from Logan thanking me for not replacing his mom, with a faint note adding that his grandmother told him never to trust me. The systematic manipulation became blindingly clear, but the final missing piece of the puzzle arrived via an unexpected phone call on Monday morning. A retired colonel named Arthur Vance explained that he had been observing the crowd during Logan's ceremony and noticed Eleanor moving stealthily behind the back row. He watched her retrieve a blue velvet case from a handbag and immediately hand it over to a strange woman in the lobby. My breathing stopped as the colonel revealed that the mysterious woman was later introduced at the reception as a prominent military memorabilia dealer from the city. I immediately searched the dealer's name online, watching dozens of high-end historical artifact auctions populate my screen. Eleanor hadn't just hidden my past out of petty malice, she had actively sold my sacrifice to a stranger to permanently delete my legacy from her family's life.